Hello folks, you're listening to Live Mike, and I'm joined by a very special guest today. Today I have something that will challenge your understanding of the workings of the universe. Dr. Robert Sungenis, a prolific author, is a pioneer in the research of geocentric cosmology. He has co-authored a 3-volume work entitled Galileo Was Wrong, the Church Was Right. Volume 1 deals with the scientific case for geocentrism. Volume 2, the historical case for geocentrism. Volume 3, the evidence from church history. Galileo Was Wrong, the Church Was Right is one of the most unique and penetrating books you will ever read. Authors Dr. Sungenis and Robert Bennett take you on a tour of science and history, the likes of which you would have never believed possible, unless it were told to you in detailed and graphic form. Has modern science led us down the primrose path and convinced us of something that they cannot prove, and that is, in actuality, false? Were the fathers of the church, the medievals, popes, and cardinals of the 17th century correct in believing that the earth, based on the face value reading of Scripture, was standing still in the center of the universe? Come with an open mind and allow these two authors to show you facts and figures that have been hidden from the public for a very long time. This page turner that you'll find hard to put down once you get riveted by the astounding material these authors have assembled for you. Prepare yourself, however, when reading this. Your world will be rocked, literally and figuratively. All right, here he is, folks. Dr. Robert Sungenis. Welcome to MSI Radio. Great to have you with us.
Hi, Michael. I'm privileged to be on your program, and I hope that the next 3 hours is going to be rewarding for everybody who's listening. And I want to back up what you said by saying that I was astounded by this 10 years ago. I had made that fateful decision on the Internet where I saw someone talking about a geocentric universe, and that fateful decision was to either click to find more information or to bypass it and go on to the next topic. And lo and behold, I clicked, and there I found a PhD in astronomy talking about the fact that the Earth was in the center of the universe and not moving. And I, like everyone else who were first introduced to this kind of thing, laughed and thought the guy was, either not all there or was making a lot of money with some sensationalism or whatever the case may be. But I do know some physics because I was a physics major in college, and so I began to read some of the material, and from a physical, scientific standpoint, it made a lot of sense to me. I wasn't, anywhere convinced that he was on the right track, but at least he had my attention. And I figured it deserved a little bit more attention, and I began to study it. That was 10 years ago. Since then, I've, as you said, written the 3 volumes, and those volumes amassed to 2,400 pages. And we are also making a movie, and that movie is called The Principle, and that will be coming out probably in February or March of next year. And it deals with this very topic, but in a very entertaining and educating way. And we hope to get it in theaters, and we're looking very much forward to it. And
you have some real heavy hitters in that film, don't you, Doctor? Captain Janeway from Star Trek Voyager is the narrator, and people that worked on the life of P, Thor, for the graphics. One fellow that worked on The Passion of Christ and March of the Penguins as your promoter. It looks like you got really something there that's going to be worthwhile. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and we've also got the top cosmologists in the world being interviewed on our movie. So these are people that, if you've watched the Discovery Channel or National Geographic or History Channel, you've seen these faces on TV many times. So people are familiar with them. We've got them all interviewed, and we have high-end graphics, we've got high-end music, we've got a great narrator. So yeah, this is big time. You know, this is not your mom and pop type of movie you just pop into DVD. This is going to be a theatrical release with the DVD following, but this is highest quality movie we can make.
Doctor, could you just explain to this audience what exactly is geocentrism and what are the mechanics of geocentrism?
Well, geocentrism, by the name of the word geocentric, means that the geo, the Earth, is in the center of the universe. And in addition to that, it also means that the Earth is not moving, because whatever occupies the center, let's say you draw a circle, if you put a dot in the center of that and you rotate the circle, well, the dot stays where it is, you see. So in that sense, geocentric usually carries the connotation that the Earth is not revolving around the sun and it is not rotating on its axis. The universe itself is rotating around a fixed Earth. So that's about as geocentric as you can get. Now, someone might object and say, well, how can that be? Well, you can use Newtonian, Machian, Einsteinian physics and show that mathematically speaking and scientifically speaking, it's just as viable to have an Earth fixed in the center of the universe with the universe rotating around it as it is to have a fixed universe and the Earth underneath of that rotating within it. Both of these are viable and scientifically allowable explanations of how the universe works. It just so happens that only one of them is taught in our grade schools, high schools, colleges, and universities. And that is because we are in the throes of what we would call the Copernican revolution. That is, that there is a bias, if you could call it that, or a favorite view of cosmology that says that Copernicus was, of the two, since we know that both are viable, of the two, which one do we prefer? They prefer the Copernican view, and that's called the Copernican principle. And that is that the Earth is nothing special. It's out in the remote recesses of space. It has no rhyme or reason to it. It all got there by chance. And we don't know exactly where we are in the universe. All we know is that we're here. And we're nothing special because we all came from the stars when they exploded. And the very atoms in your right hand may be different than the atoms in your left hand. They may have come, in other words, from two different places, because it was all a product of a big explosion 13.7 billion years ago in this thing called the Big Bang. And we're out here, and there's no one to take care of us because we got here by chance, and we're nothing special. All that I've just described is the Copernican principle. And that is the dominant view that you find in all the physics textbooks, astronomy textbooks throughout the world. And that means that every piece of evidence that comes in the telescope will be interpreted through the grid of the Copernican principle. That is, that philosophy has a large part in the interpretation of scientific data. And this is not just my idea. This is an idea that was propounded by George F.R. Ellis, one of the premier physicists in the world today, who teaches at the University in South Africa. He said that I can make for you a model of the universe where the Earth is in the center and the universe rotates around it, and you could not argue with me on scientific principles that it is invalid. The only thing you can do is objection on philosophical principles. And what he's saying basically is that you can make the math, and that's how scientists talk to each other, through math. You can make the math such that you can have the Earth in the center and the universe rotating around it, or, as I said before, you can have the universe fixed and the Earth rotating within it. Either one, the math can support. And so the question is, well, how are you going to choose? Well, as I said before, they choose based on their philosophical bias. That is the Copernican principle. And so every piece of data, again, that comes in that telescope, they're going to interpret through the Copernican principle, wherein they will not allow the Earth to assume the center position, the special position in the universe. They want it to remain remote out in recesses of space. And the question would be, well, why do they want to do that? Well, it's not too hard to reason why. Stephen Hawking, for example, said that he knows that if you take the science...
I'm sorry, is this reference to page 47 of his best-selling book, Brief History of Time?
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. People can pick that up for themselves. Between pages 42 and 47, he goes into this. And he says that when Edwin Hubble saw the galaxies with their redshift back in 1929, it was amazing to him because everyone expected the galaxies to have blue shifts and red shifts, not just red shifts. Now, red shifts, if you are familiar with the term, or if you're not familiar with the term, is I can explain it very simply. Redshift is the tendency of the white light to go to the red end of the spectrum. And if it's going to the red end of the spectrum, let's say you see a rainbow, and the rainbow looks more red, the reds are more prominent